Hey guys, Dennis here with Revog Games. I'm joined by
Joshua Weyers, all the way in South Africa.
yes, and this is our weekly games podcast, the Revog Games podcast, and yeah, a lot of news this week, and one big piece of news as well. If people had seen that Square Enix was selling off their Western studios, there's three of them: Crystal Dynamics, ADS Montreal, or ADIS, how do you pronounce that? Square Enix Montreal. Anyways, there's 1,100 employees total. The IPs as well are being sold off, which is Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain. Yeah, for a very, very low price. I think that was the more stunning thing, I guess, was one that Square Enix was selling these studios, and then they were selling them for $300 million, which is fairly cheap considering what we've seen in the last few years in
Also,
terms of
yeah. Also,
sales.
once you consider the IP involved as well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know the Embracer Group, they actually have been slowly kind of gobbling up a bunch of game studios and IPs. I think, yeah, they own THQ Nordic and Gearbox as well. They own Koch Media, Coffee Stain, Deca Games. They own Dark Horse, which is a comic book
Yeah.
entertainment company. So they kind of are this low key owner or game studios owner. Obviously, you don't hear of them as much because they're kind of more behind the scenes with these other studios. But yeah, 300 million. I was quite surprised at that price point, and the fact that Square Enix wanted to sell as well. What did you think
I
when
was
you heard
gonna.
this news?
That's the thing that puzzles me the most is why they would want to sell. Because even like right now, while you were talking, I'm straight up looking at the Square Enix Holdings, um, Co Ltd, the limited thing. Anyways, I've been looking at it and like it's like I'm okay. There's like okay, if I look at the past year, their stocks are down, but
Hmm.
not by much. Like pretty much the exact same point in July of last year. You know what I mean? Then it skyrocketed, then it went, but it goes up and down. And the main source of their money, as far as I know, I think is from Final Fantasy 14, their MMO. So it's their monthly subscription fees and whatnot.
Hmm.
But like it just doesn't make sense as to I'm puzzled. I can't think of a reason as to why they would want to sell this, you know? It's not like look, it's not like they were the Tomb Raider games were raking in the money, but they were good well received games. I
They
think
were
maybe they
sold
needed to be
well.
they sold well. I think they needed to be marketed better.
Yeah.
Like especially the later ones, like
Uh huh.
the last one for sure. Um but yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't see why they would want to. It's puzzling to me. It really is puzzling to me. I can't.
I think
The only
Square.
reason I could see someone doing this is just because they don't want the hassle of having to deal with them. You know what I mean? But it's like they don't have to do anything. You know?
And also, 300 million is very low for those IPs and
Yeah.
studios. Speaking of Tomb Raider, they because of the purchase agreement, these numbers got released because obviously they want to, when they're selling to another company, they have to release this information, which is that Tomb Raider. Okay, Tomb Raider since 1996 has sold 88 million units. Okay,
Yeah.
that's since 1996. However, 38 million of that comes from the reboot trilogy alone. So
And that
that's
was a really good trilogy. It was a really good reboot. I
so
highly
you're
recommend playing it.
and you're talking about a franchise that also has had three movies, two with Angelina Jolie and one with a kind of a more recent one with Alicia
Yeah.
Vikander. Um, so that's one IP there that's worth a good amount of money and that sells pretty well as well. And then you know, look, it could possibly be because the disappointment in terms of the cost in producing both the Avengers and the
Actually, that
Guardians
could very
Guardians
much be it. Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy game and the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which was more well received than the Avengers game, didn't have quite that good of sales, and it was due to
Well, it sucked. Like,
No,
You
I'm
know,
talking about Guardians of Galaxy sales.
Guardians
Was due to
because of
the Avengers. Yeah.
Bad taste in people's mouth.
Still, 300 million is very low for this many IPs, catalog of games.
And they did announce a while ago that they are working on a new Tomb Raider game with Unreal Engine 5. Like they did announce that recently as well. So that is in the works and will continue to be in the works even during this acquisition, I'd imagine. Yeah, I just don't get it. Like I said, I just don't get it. It's just weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a great deal for Embracer. I mean, they bought Gearbox for, I believe, like 1 billion, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe it's just the skeptic in me, but I'd like to believe there's some kind of conspiracy here or something. Like it's the only way that this can make sense. To like why like at that like it is a cheap price point. You know what I mean? I mean, look, it's 300 million. It's by no means cheap for anybody, but like for a big company. It's just once again like just Tomb Raider in itself, man. Tomb Raider is huge in gaming IP. That is huge, Yeah.
And
that's insane. And
remember,
then,
Bungie just
Deus
sold
Ex,
for.
They bring that back, yeah.
Yeah, Deus Ex or Deus Ex. Deus Ex.
Yeah.
I played the original game on the PC. It was a groundbreaking
at the
game.
time, yeah.
Yeah. And I played the follow-up one. I forgot what the
Human Revolution.
Yeah, I played that one as well.
I think it was Human. I think that was my favorite one. The follow-up from the original. That was my favorite out of all of them.
It definitely geared more towards the FPS because the first one had a kind of a janky FPS. Like it really was not a good. It was much more RPG. The first one, where
yeah, true. I think the first one's Elon Musk's favorite game of all time, apparently.
So
which makes sense.
So it's
it's just weird, man. It's just weird. Like, yeah, it's just so I just didn't see it coming at all. It's big. It's like I said, that's big news as well. You know what I mean in terms of acquisitions and ownerships and stuff. Doesn't really mean much for the games itself. I'm pretty sure that the studios will be operating as if they're normal. They're just gonna have a different daddy corporation.
Yeah, and maybe they'll have more resources. Apparently, Embracer's pretty big, so maybe they'll have more.
Maybe they'll bring back Legacy of Kain. Like that would be awesome.
They mentioned it in the press release, so it sounds like they have plans for it. It sounds
I hope so. I haven't played a Soul Reaver. I think I played Soul Reaver on like PlayStation 2 in the year the PS2 came out. That was about 20 years ago or more than 20 years ago, I think.
Yeah, I wonder if there is some sort of like hidden debt that they, I don't know, are picking up or something that
I do know that they were hit hard with Avengers. Like it did not sell up, like it did not build up to the amount of money that, like I don't think that they like made a loss on it, but they were expecting. I mean, maybe they did, but I know for sure they were expecting to earn way more than what they did.
Yes, because they were expecting microtransactions to kind of.
They were expecting that game to be like their Fortnite in terms of money. They were that's all they were looking at as well, which is clear. Once you play the game, it's very clear that there was more of an emphasis on microtransactions, and then there is on the mid game of I enjoyed the story. The multiplayer was trash. I didn't even try it because I knew it was trash. But
I played it. It just gets really repetitive, and
it's literally the mid game. From as far as I know, like the multiplayer is those missions you're doing in the middle of the story mode. The mid-story mode, which gets very repetitive. I enjoyed the story mode for its story. The beginning and the end felt like a game. The middle just felt weird, almost arcade.
It's filler. It was like filler. It was like filler.
Yeah,
basically to stretch out the game.
I enjoyed the story, but it's one of those things where, like, to this day, if anybody's interested in the game, what I would recommend doing is just watch somebody else play it on YouTube. Don't spend your money on it. Or I mean, I played it for free because it was on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And then I installed it, binged the story mode, and deleted it in like 2 days. I got what I wanted out of it. But yeah, maybe that game just made more of a loss than they expected, or I don't know what it is. You could be right with the hidden debt. It's just it doesn't make sense to me. Like in an era, like we're in an era where big acquisitions are happening all the time. People are acquiring studios left, right, and center. Everyone's trying to get like more IPs in the back of their pocket, and it wouldn't make sense for Square Enix, which is a huge company, to thin themselves out right now. It wouldn't make sense for them,
Yeah. Okay. So this is obviously, gross revenue, but if you take 38 million and you multiply it by $50 a game, which obviously in the later half it was probably $60 or whatever. $1.9 billion. So you know what I mean? Like 1.9 billion, and you just sold the whole shebang for.
Do you think it has anything to do with any kind of future endeavors, and they're just thinking about the international market? Because it's like you said, it's none of their Japanese studios.
No,
it's none of their studios that are within their same country, same region area. Because I would imagine like this is just me thinking, trying to find the silver lining here, which is the acquisition, the team up that I've always wanted, which is Square Enix and Sony. Maybe it would be easier for Sony to acquire Square Enix if they didn't have their Western studios. It could be a thing of like getting rid of these studios just so that they can be acquired by a bigger corporation or a bigger studio.
Possibly.
Which I like. Once again, that's me thinking very optimistically and on an incredibly slim chance. I highly doubt it's that. But I'm thinking about because there's got to be a reason why they specifically chose their Western studios. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I mean the performance in some of the games recently weren't the best, but for the most part, banger games. Like the Tomb Raider games are great. Guardians of the Galaxy was great. You know what I mean? Yeah, I feel like it has to do with something regarding some kind of international law or business, or like it's got to be like the fact that they're selling so low as well. It's got to be something that'll benefit them long term. Like you said, they're either in debt, like some kind of secret debt. Because their stock market looks the same as any other market, ups and downs, but it's not like it's been on a steady decline,
Yeah,
I
so
don't know, like there's got to be some motive that we don't know about.
I don't know, but Kotaku had a great sub headline. So obviously their headline is Square Enix selling Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and Thief and their studios as well. Their sub headline was, "Let's see if the new owners can also be disappointed by great games that sell well." That's like a perfect description.
But that's so true, because it's like, why sell? I just don't get it. I just don't. It doesn't make sense.
If I heard this sale and they said it was for, I don't know, 800 million, 850, 1 billion, I'd be like, okay, maybe they just want to get rid of it and make some money. But 300 million for this is, quite a. I'm surprised. I'm surprised Sony or Microsoft Sony or Microsoft didn't pick it up. Microsoft maybe because they're still worried about being slapped with some sort of monopolistic
monopoly. Yeah, they're gonna be chill on the acquisitions for a while for sure.
Yeah,
so at least until that the big Acti Blizzard deal is completely.
Would have been a great pickup for either Sony or Microsoft, to be honest. For that price, it's like a drop in the bucket. It's like nothing.
Yeah, but once again, I think like the issue here is with international stuff. Like for the most part, Microsoft has only acquired American companies or Western companies. You know what I mean? And I think that does play a role when it comes to big tech companies buying other tech companies. Is that the deal and the acquisitions do seem to go a lot more smoother if they're within the same country, within the same constructs of law and whatnot. You know what I mean? That's also why this is me going way out on a limb. I could be so wrong about this, but like I said, I feel like the only way that this would make sense is if if Square Enix wanted to make an acquisition with a parent company easier by getting rid of their Western companies. You know what I mean?
I don't know. But I mean, Embracer is a Swedish holding company, so even that's still,
but the Swedes get away with a lot. I know that they're like their laws are a lot more, I'd say, like flimsy. It's easier to work around. You know what I mean? Not just in terms of like tax havens and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, good on them. They picked up a nice,
that's a quick return.
Good IP,
as well.
Good IP. It's gonna be for very cheap.
Yeah, not the quickest return, but it's gonna be a fucking profitable return for them. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. All right. I think
maybe
it?
Square Enix secretly owns Embracer with them and we don't know it. And there's some super like sketchy like business tactics going on that we don't know about. It just doesn't make sense to me. I can't wrap my head around this.
Yeah.
Like every acquisition we've seen so far makes perfect sense. This one just doesn't. It's just it's weird. Out of nowhere as well.
On a side note, basically, remember Crystal Dynamics was helping co-develop Microsoft's Perfect Dark reboot, and basically the initiative went to Twitter and basically said it was still going, continuing. There's not this sale doesn't affect their dealings at all. So I had to assume that Microsoft may have been maybe not the whole shebang, but I thought they were going to pick up Crystal Dynamics. That's my thought. Was
maybe
like
Square Enix just really had like too high expectations.
yeah.
Maybe that's what it is, because that does, out of all the articles I've read, it does seem to be the overall thing where they keep saying that the games are underperforming. Which yes, Avengers was severely underperforming. I think Guardians of the Galaxy, although it was received well, everyone who played it enjoyed it. But I think once again it didn't sell that well because of the taste of the Avengers
Also,
game.
from what I heard, the Game Pass deal wasn't for that much. It was like, if I'm not mistaken, like $10 million or $5 million. It was a very low amount that they received in order to put it on Game Pass.
The Tomb Raider games were amazing, the reboot, and it sold really well. But I do think they were expecting it to sell better, even though it did. Like the first one of that series sold incredibly well. The sequel did too. The third game in the series did not end up selling that well. I mean, it sold well, but once again, I think they just had very high expectations.
Like you said, as a marketing issue. I played the first one. I enjoyed it, but I think the problem was they couldn't differentiate the second and third one from the first one. Like they rebooted it, so everyone knew it got rebooted. Everyone got a lot of praise.
For a while, I thought the second one and the first one were like the same game. You know, like it was difficult to follow. You know.
Yeah,
I guess mean, like when you read them all in a row, it makes sense. It's like Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Yeah. Like it makes sense, but for the most part, like when you see the cover art, it's just Tomb Raider, and Tomb Raider. You know what I mean? With like slightly different color, like or the one's like darker than the other.
So according to Square Enix, this transaction allowed them to invest more money in blockchain, AI, and the cloud. Which is weird. It's but the weird thing is why. First of all, 300 million is not that a lot of money.
Didn't Ubisoft also like invest heavily into blockchain, and blockchain is like not really crashing at the moment, but it's like going to. I'm not too sure.
So, but the question is, why just invest money that you already have into this? I mean, 300 million is not. Like, it's almost like
at the end of the day, as much as people love their NFTs and their cryptocurrencies, blockchain is so bad for the environment. And at a certain point in time, it will be regulated and outlawed because of how incredibly bad blockchain technology is for the environment. It chows electricity, man. Unless you have like your own fucking solar panels or your own wind farm or something running your mining your Bitcoin mining operation, it's pretty bad for the environment. Same with NFTs. Even if you're just buying and selling NFTs, anything that uses blockchain technology ends up being pretty bad for the environment long run, you know? Which I think is sad because the technology behind NFTs is amazing. You know, the actual use of the technology I'm not too happy with, but it's still amazing technology once on its own.
So, all right, I think that's it. And do you have anything else on this subject?
It is big, but no, that's about it. But that's I think that's probably our biggest topic, yeah.
So, let's talk about the releases this week. Two things. One was Halo Infinite Season 2 Lone Wolves, which is, you know, obviously it's not a brand new game, but it's a new season. I got to play a little bit of it, like a very brief amount of time before we hopped on. And I am liking that the Last Spartan Standing mode, which is basically their version of Battle Royale. It's very similar to Battle Royale, except for you get 5 lives instead of 1. And you're competing, like, at least I didn't play a big team map or whatever. I played, it was just 12 people. And, you know, the game was only, I think, 8-9 minutes long. I obviously... You know, I haven't played the game in a few months, and I wasn't like amazing at it anyways, but yeah, I got my ass kicked. But it was fun because you don't get one-shotted and die, and then you just have to start over. I actually got some kills before I got my 5 lives killed. And it was on one of the new maps. So I actually like this. I actually prefer this to Battle Royale just because I'm the believer of like, if you get killed once and then you're out and you got to wait, you know, for a game that's like 20 minutes long. It's getting better now, thank God, to SSDs and whatnot. You know, the games will load faster.
Depending on the game, the issue is finding a lobby. You know, it's like if there's not a shit ton of people playing the game, it could take like 15 minutes searching for a game, you know. And that's the main reason I don't play like Fortnite anymore, is because, well, like it's better nowadays, but there was a time where literally, like, yeah, you get killed and then you gotta wait like 15 minutes to get into a new game, hop back in, play again, you know. And then you could die within a minute, or you could die within 20 minutes. Who knows? The mode you were just talking about, Last Spartan Standing, that's the one that I have really wanted to check out. I haven't had the chance yet, but that was one of the ones I was most interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I tend not to play a ton of different variations. Obviously there's Team Slayer, there's just Slayer, but like this may be going into my rotation of games to play. Like I don't mind some of the other modes, but in general I usually just play Team Slayer. And then this one I think I'll add to the rotation of games I'm looking to play, because it's fun. It gives me kind of that Battle Royale, but without like all that waiting around. Also, I know some people were complaining that, oh, this is going to encourage like camping or whatever. It's like kind of yes and no. The thing is if you stand around and you don't take out opponents, you're not your weapons
have to go between. Yeah,
your weapons don't upgrade.
With Battle Royale games, it's one of those things where you do also need to like you're gonna camp, not all the time, but like every now and then you're gonna. But it's like not just camping, because I don't know the way that this game mode works. Obviously, with most Battle Royales, there's like a storm circle, or there's something that does.
Yeah, there is. Same here. It's called Danger Zone or whatever.
Exactly. So you can't fully camp all the way, but that's the way the game is, man. If there's like 100 other people on the map shooting at you, you're not just gonna want to be like standing out there with your gun going, "I'm taking you all on." No, you're gonna find a corner, get a couple picks, get into a new corner, shoot some people, find a new corner, shoot some people. Yeah, that's just how it is. It is how it is, man.
And also, like I said, you get upgrades every time you get a kill, so it encourages going out to kill people.
Yeah. And also, like, no one's gonna camp all the time, because it's not just boring, but it's one of those things where it's like, imagine you hop into a game, right, and then you camp the entire time because you're afraid or because you think it's the best way to get kills. Anybody can just, like, if you get spotted camping, like, if you don't shoot the person first, you're dead because you're camping. You're usually stuck in a shitty position. You know what I mean? Or you're hiding somewhere. Or it's just like so demotivating, because it's like if you're camping, it's like you could play a whole game without shooting a bullet and then die. And it's like, what did you do for 15 minutes? You did nothing. You know, you're gonna feel like your time is wasted. I don't think it's gonna, like, look, no other battle royales have had like a severe issue with camping, anyways. You know what I mean? So I don't think it'll be an issue.
Yeah. So, anyways, I played a little bit of it. It was promising. Like I said, I have to get back into it as I'm winding down my Elden Ring playthrough, which was 100, and I think I'm closing in on like 150 hours.
Nice.
That I can start playing other games. Speaking of other games, another game that just launched today, and is day one on Game Pass. Yeah, Trek to Yomi, which is a black and white samurai game that's kind of a 2D scroller, but it does actually have some 3D elements to it.
I was gonna say, it has like a slight isometric feeling to it, you know.
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I played about 45 minutes of it. I heard the game's only about 6 hours long, which I think is fine for this type of game, because the combat itself is not very deep. There is an isometric when you kind of walk around for the platforming and the exploration.
Yeah.
But when it comes to combat, it's all 2D. And there's just kind of some limitations with that, and the skill sets and the skills that you get are, you know, they have some variation, but it's not like Ghost of Tsushima. It's not like Elden Ring. It's not, you know what I mean? It doesn't have quite the depth in the combat that those other games have. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was very cinematic. I was surprised, because all the footage I had seen was all the 2D combat, but there's actually cinematic cutscenes. Also, like you mentioned, isometric kind of walking around, and it's very cool. It has that old samurai Kurosawa feel to it. They got like film grain. It's black and white. They even got like not glitches, because that's digital, but like scratches and whatnot.
Yeah, like the film grain and like that. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Like the scratches of like the rolling film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I so far I'm enjoying it. And did you play it at all?
No, I do have it installed. I
Okay.
am, and it's funny because while it was installing, I was like, you know what, this just looking at the trailer and like the screenshots, I was like, this makes me want to play Sifu again. So I
Mhm.
hopped back into Sifu. Noticed that they added difficulty settings, which there wasn't before then.
Mhm.
So now there's an easy mode and a hard mode. Whereas before the time there was just normal. But yeah, I hopped back into that game because it's look, once you get into Sifu, it is very rewarding. And
Mhm.
having played Sifu after playing a lot of Elden Ring, I felt like a god because it's like with Elden Ring, like it fucking trained the hell out of your dodge rolling and your parrying and your timing
Mhm.
is good. Like my timing is improved because of Elden Ring. So when I went back into Sifu, I was smashing it. I was like, yeah, I was just in
Mhm.
there kicking ass, man. Which I still Sifu is really fun. I do think if you get the chance to play it, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Um, it is very rewarding in terms of combat.
Cool.
But so yeah, I'm probably gonna play Trick to Yomi after this.
It's getting positive
Um,
reviews. It's not getting
mhm.
it's not getting rave reviews. It's getting a lot of sevens, sevens, eights,
Yeah.
basically just saying it is limited it's in what it can actually do, but that for what it is and for the amount of time you'll spend with it, 5 6 hours, that it's good. It's fun. And then if you have Game Pass, this is a perfect Game Pass game. Like we mentioned before, it's not the AAA titles that are perfect for Game Pass. Obviously, that's why most people have it. But it's these games that you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy it or not. Let me try it, test it out. It's like this and the
Yeah.
Ascent. What
I would
else?
yeah, I would normally
Sable.
not have picked up
12
the game.
minutes.
Yeah. If it wasn't for being on Game Pass, I normally wouldn't have picked it up.
Yeah. So this
So,
is a perfect
yeah.
Game Pass game. All right, let's move on to. Oh, this one. This is kind of more of a rumor, but and it's been an ongoing rumor for several years now.
Yeah,
But
I mean, we spoke about it at least like once a year since I've been
yeah,
doing this podcast.
it
We've
keeps
spoken about
popping
it at
up.
least once a year.
I don't know if anyways that Warner Brothers Games is up for sale, and I guess this rumor is popped up more recently again because of the Warner Brothers Discovery kind of merger that's going on right
Mm.
now, and that they're like, well, we don't really need this component. Who knows if it's true or not, but they said there's interest from both Microsoft and Sony. Obviously, it would be a pretty pretty big acquisition for either one. I mean, you're talking about the Hogwarts game, the Harry Potter game that's coming out at the end of this year. You're talking about they also have the license for the Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
games, Mortal Kombat, the Batman Arkham games, the Suicide Squad games. I mean, this is definitely not a $300 million acquisition. You know what I mean? This is definitely going to be in the billions
Yeah.
if they decide to sell this. This is not going to be some easy. Yeah, they said interested parties include EA, Take Two, Microsoft, Sony, Tencent, NetEase, and PUBG Corp. So
Who would you prefer to be in to end up? I mean, obviously, I think everybody wants Microsoft to get it because then come to
go to
Game
Game
Pass in the
Pass.
future.
That's who I'd want it because purely for
Yeah.
selfish reasons, which is I don't have to
I
spend the
think
money.
Sony needs it. I think Sony needs it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I think that they do need it. But at the same time, it's so easy for Tencent to just pop in and grab it if they wanted to, you know?
Yeah.
I think if anyone's gonna be throwing money around, it's gonna be Tencent. They have a lot of it.
I mean, they are the
Um,
number one like
yeah,
in
they have.
game revenue.
It's gonna be the easiest. It would be easy for them, you know.
I
I'd
mean,
imagine.
Sony needs at least much like the Bungie acquisition, a defensive move where you can buy it and be like, no, it's still multi-platform, like just making it so that no one else can get it as an exclusive.
Sony needs it as well because it's like it's just they're like from what I've been able to see at least, the Warner Brothers like interactive games they just tend to sell better on Sony. you know, from what I've seen, you know, especially with like the later Arkham games. And then also I think of Arkham VR. Arkham VR was at the time pretty like it's by no means does it hold up well when you compare it to other games like
Mhm.
Vader Immortal, for instance. But at the time it was really great, groundbreaking. You could play it on PSVR. You know, you could play it on your PlayStation. So it would be cool to see like a second Arkham VR game. I know that people enjoyed it. As far as I know, I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
Arkham VR. I'd like to see other games in VR. You know, you could do Superman VR. You could, I mean, yeah, if they've got the IP, they can hell do a bunch of like superhero VR games if they wanted to.
They could
But for the most
also.
part, well, I just want more Arkham games. You know, we
Mhm.
got Arkham Knights coming out. We got that Suicide Squad game coming out.
What I was gonna say is that they also could go the route of breaking the studios into pieces and selling off each
Correct. That's
studio
also
or each
possible. Yeah.
IP, so that it's like, okay, this company gets this X, Y, and Z.
I think the Shadow of Mordor, the Middle Earth, the Lord of the Rings IP is dead. I think like I've loved Lord of the Rings games and those types of games, but I enjoyed I enjoyed Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor.
Mhm.
I didn't play Shadow of War. It's on sale right now for like dirt cheap on Steam,
Mhm.
so I might pick it up. Uh,
But
but yeah,
remember, the Lord of the Rings TV series, Power of the
it's
Ring, is
gonna
coming
come.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah. So.
that's gonna be sick. Yeah, but yeah, the games were like they were fun, but
Uh-huh.
I think that they definitely undersold as well. Like they were, especially with the sequel, Shadow of War, it didn't meet its expectations. Didn't sell that well. I don't know
Mhm.
why. They're definitely fun games, but there's something about it that's like I don't know. There's something that doesn't stand out about it. For the most part, it just seemed like a very generic, you know, action RPG kind of game. It was fun, but like there is no. It's not something that you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna play this game once a year. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like Elden Ring is a game you're gonna come like. Well, we can't keep comparing everything to Elden Ring because it
Mhm.
just will pale in comparison, unfortunately. But I'll use Cyberpunk as an example, which is not Elden Ring. Still, I think a pretty fantastic game, especially now that it's fixed for the most part.
Mhm.
That's a game I'd like to come back and try out again.
Mhm.
I played like those the Middle Earth games, and none of them made me want to come back to them afterwards.
Mhm.
You know, I was, if anything, I was only like especially with the Shadow of Mordor. The only reason I finished playing it was because I was like, hey, I've got no other games to play. You know,
Mhm.
it wasn't. It was more like a last choice kind of option. You know, rather than a first choice. But yeah, if they do sell it off, then that would make sense because like the biggest IP that they have is their Arkham series. I think.
Yeah.
You know, that's like those in the story. It's been a continuous story. It's been selling well.
Uh,
You know. And there's
Um,
so much possibility that they can. There's just so much possibility with that series, with the whole Batman franchise that they have. You know.
but I feel like though, if those are kind of the people who are looking to buy, they probably don't want to break it up. You know, I'm pretty sure both
Yeah.
Microsoft and Sony want to just buy the whole thing. Unlike with the Ubisoft deal, where it was a private investors looking to buy it, I could see them buying it and just chopping that thing up. Like, oh, you
Mm-hmm.
want to buy Assassin's Creed? Here, you buy that. Oh, you want to buy, the Tom Clancy Splinter Cell series? Here, you buy that. Like I could see that.
If they do that and Sony doesn't acquire Mortal Kombat, then they're dumb. Like like it's just one of those things as well that's always made like that's always like well Mortal Kombat for me. I grew up in an era, and you grew up in an era where it will always be an arcade game. You know,
Yes.
kids nowadays they will always see it as a like I think kids nowadays will see it as a Sony game. You know.
Mm.
Oh wait, I'm thinking of Tekken. Tekken was always more Sony. But Mortal Kombat, yeah, it was on both platforms. But I still,
Yeah.
once again, it just seems like one of those games that like, it just seems like it would work well more on Sony. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could definitely see them picking that up. But yeah, the real thing here is who's going to get the rights to the next Arkham game. You know,
Yeah.
that's the real question.
All right. This next one, also kind of a rumor based on some stuff that's
According
not.
to Jeff Grubb.
Yeah, it's not exactly like fact or anything like that, but the rumor is that Jedi Fallen Order 2 will be next gen only. I believe there was some sort of listing for the game, and it did not list any of like
Yeah.
Xbox
Look,
One
we
or
are getting to that
PS4.
time. We are getting to that era. Like God of War, because it's coming out this year. Ragnarok's coming out this year. It kind of has to be on the PS4 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they'll just sell well. It'll make a shit
Yeah.
ton of money, you know. But with Jedi Fallen Order, first of all, it's also not an exclusive, so
Mhm.
they don't have to worry about sales too much because it's not like they're only going to be selling on PS5. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they'll be on the new Xbox. They'll probably be on PC as well. You know.
Mhm.
It'll be on. They're not too worried about that. But I can easily see them doing this. If the game is gonna come out in 2023, which I don't think it will. I
Yeah,
don't. We
I think
haven't.
it's 2024. That's my
Yeah,
guess.
like 2023 is optimistic as hell for something that we haven't even heard an official announcement of. We know that they're
Mm.
working on it. We know they're gonna do a sequel, but we haven't even gotten a freaking title. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's a bit optimistic to say the game's gonna come out next year. So I don't
Yeah.
think that's the case. It's one of those things where by the time this game does come out, they don't. It's at that time where I think it's okay to not sell it on the old generation, even though I probably still won't have a PS5 or an Xbox, the newer Xbox or whatever. But it does make sense. It has been a couple. Like by the time this game comes out, it would have been like 5 or 6 years, you know.
Mhm.
And then it's like, do you really want to be playing the new Star Wars game on? If it is on PS4, you're talking about a piece of machinery that's like what 10? It's gonna be 10 or 11 years old by the time the game comes out, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you're talking about like a decade old console. Do you really want to be playing a new game on a decade old console at that point, you know? That's also why what didn't make sense to me about Cyberpunk was that everyone's like, look at how cool this game is gonna be. I'm like, and yes, it was horrible on PS4. It should never come out on PS4. But at
Mhm.
the same time, like I don't know who was optimistic about playing this amazing. They were like showing off ray tracing in Cyberpunk, and everyone's like,
Well,
yeah, I
they were
can't wait to
showing
play
it
it on
on
my
the
7-year-old
2080.
console. Yeah.
They're
Exactly. And it was also like I just don't know who in their right minds before that game came out went, I can't wait to play this on my 7-year-old console. You know? Like, I don't know. Anyways, but this makes sense to me.
yeah,
This
because
makes
of
sense to
the
me.
because of
Yeah,
when
I
it
believe it.
comes out.
Just
You know.
because of the time it comes out. I like if it is a rumor, I don't know if it's credible or not, but it would make even if it isn't a rumor, I would have guessed this anyways.
Yeah.
Like this would have been my assumption, you know? Once again, because it's not an exclusive item, you know, it's gonna be on Xbox, Sony, and PC. It's gonna sell because it sells on all three of those, they don't have to like recuperate their sales on older generation consoles, you know?
Yeah. And you know, a lot of people are going to make that transition by that time. You know, you're talking about 2 years from now, you know,
Mm.
maybe longer.
Yeah, I do not
So,
think that they're keep in mind that this leak is also saying that the game comes out next year. I don't think it will.
no, I don't think so
Yeah,
either.
definitely. Yeah, unless we get a magical gameplay trailer by the end of this year, we're not gonna. Even if they announced gave us a CGI cutscene, even then we know, hey, it's gonna be 2 years or something, you know.
Yeah. Unless we see it in this upcoming Xbox showcase on June 12th.
Oh, you know what? This like the article that we're referring to here. Even they agree. It was good while it lasted, but it's time to let go. Which it makes good point. You know what I mean? By the time this game comes out, the PS5 would have been around for you know, a couple like the next gen consoles would have been around for a couple years at that point. There's not much of an excuse, you know.
Yeah.
Even though it is still very difficult to get and it is still pricey.
There have been Xbox Series X sightings a lot more recently. It's been more available
Yeah.
for sale.
And look, it'll probably be on Series S as well. You know, it's not like it's not
Series
gonna be on
S
the
is
Series
easy
S.
to get. You can pick that up,
Exactly, yeah.
no problem. X has
And
been
that's still
somewhat
technically
available.
next gen, you know. So, anyways, yeah, if the rumor's true, I believe it. I don't think it's the end of the world. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I mean, it would suck if I didn't have a PC, but I do have a PC, so I'm
Yeah.
fine. You know.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do first: upgrade my
Also,
graphics
like, who
card
knows- who
or
knows-
buy a console.
Like by the time this game comes out, like cloud gaming is at our doorstep. It's been here for a while, but now cloud gaming is literally at our doorstep. Like right now, I believe, like I don't have the internet for it here in South Africa, but with Nvidia GeForce Now, they have their own like 3080s that you can stream off of. Like the
Yeah.
games will be played on a 3080 somewhere in California, I'm guessing, but then you'll be streaming it off the servers. So it's like you don't need like we're getting to that point where you don't need to buy a 3080 or 3090 or whatever. You can stream off of one of those for a monthly subscription fee, you know? It's going to get to that point where it's going to be cheaper to stream off of someone else's 3080 than buy your own cuz chip shortages as well is going to be going on for another couple years, and scalpers with graphics cards are going to keep happening, you know?
Yeah.
It is what it is, man.
All right. Here's another small news piece. Basically, Activision says Call of Duty Vanguard's underperforming sales. They blamed it on the game's setting, which was World War II. The game's World War II setting didn't resonate with some of our community. So
it's even though it's confusing because of how many World War II games there are, you know? Like how many Call of Duty, like Call of Duty, like just not even Call of Duty, just in general. Like there's so many World War II games, you know. Oh my gosh, Medal of Honor, take me back.
Yeah.
I just had a flashback of that.
I do think it's kind of funny that they're disappointed even though it was the best-selling game of 2021.
I was gonna say it's still sold incredibly well, and I guess I don't know why, but like I have a lot of, I guess because of Valorant, I play a lot of Valorant, and I'm constantly meeting a lot of Europeans. And a lot of people in the Netherlands are playing Call of Duty. Like I'm on a Discord server meant for like Valorant, but everyone just plays Call of Duty all the time, specifically Vanguard. And not Warzone, but like the actual just Vanguard. So yeah.
What's funny is Call of Duty was always a World War II game.
Thing, yeah.
That's what the origins were, and then they kind of hit it big with Modern Warfare. And I guess all the kind of new fans are.
And now they're doing Modern Warfare 2, which is technically the 5th Modern Warfare, but whatever. You know, I don't know, man. Look, whatever. Like I don't like Activision, and I don't like Call of Duty. I used to love them, but they just bled me dry, man. Yeah. Pumping out a game every single year with
they didn't even market
minimal changes, or the changes were way too severe.
Did you see any marketing for Vanguard? I did not.
Very little. We covered the announcement of Vanguard, and like there was hype for like 2 weeks, and then everyone stopped caring. That seems what it was like, you know. There was marketing for it, but like they didn't. The thing is, a lot of these studios, and not all of them, like some studios know how to market and they know how to build hype, and they do that very well. But some studios are like, hey, we're gonna throw money at marketing, and then we're gonna do like a shit ton of marketing for like a month, and then we're just never gonna do any more of it. Like you have to keep marketing something until it comes out. You can't just market it and be like, okay, it's coming out next year. You gotta keep that hype train going, man.
And you gotta also get the community involved.
Because like there was a lot of hype around the game when they announced it, but like when the game launched, there was no hype and there was no marketing around the launch of the game, you know.
Oh, this is funny. Just side note to what we were talking about with the acquisitions. So now Sony's Bungie acquisition is being probed by the FTC. So it's like, so they're investigating. It doesn't make sense. So they're investigating Microsoft, who is in third place for being a monopoly by this acquisition, and then now they're investigating Sony, who is second place with this acquisition.
The only people they're not going to investigate is Tencent because they can't touch Tencent.
Yeah, so
they're not going to get involved with China.
Yeah, so it's just funny. All right, this is my last thing. I'm sure you have some stuff, but this was just more for fun. Man, basically,
I'm literally looking at it again because it's so cool. But go ahead, say it.
Yeah.
The thing you're talking about.
Okay, so someone used the Unreal Engine 5 demo, the one that they had with the Matrix one, and they plopped in Superman. Technically, it's not Superman. No. It's Superman style. There's no S. There's no S. Yeah.
They can't get sued. I don't know what you're talking about.
They didn't want to get sued.
It's clearly a different superhero.
Yeah, clearly a different superhero. He's wearing a cape.
Was it Highlander?
Yeah,
I'm joking.
He's wearing a red and blue suit. And basically, it's Superman without the logo.
But man, it looks good. Because if anybody's played the Unreal Engine 5, the demo, obviously, first of all, it was optimized fantastically for PlayStation. I believe you can get a hold of the demo on PC now, but it is trash from what I've heard. FPS drops and everything. But like, man, if you guys can look up Superman style flight experience, Unreal Engine 5, whatever, it looks incredible. It's just so sad that with even like 10 years ago, like we've had the technology to make a solid Superman game, but everyone's just been too scared because I guess of how incredibly bad the N64 game was, or that's what people said. I have fond memories of that N64 game and enjoying it, you know. But then again, I was in college and not sober, so that could have played a role too. But this looks incredible. It's just
it's like Spider-Man. It's like Spider-Man.
It's just it's so satisfying to fly through. It looks so satisfying, you know. And I think that's the issue with these kind of games is now with Unreal Engine 5 being able to load these massive cities and massive structures so quickly. You can do things like super speed, and so you can do a Flash game, you can do a Superman game, and you can really like abuse the power of the Unreal Engine 5, and it looks like there's not a moment of this like I'm entranced by watching it because there's not a moment where it doesn't look flawless. You know what I mean? Like even in between like all the fucking like fast like twists and turns in the city, everything looks flawless and amazing. Yeah, it's just I can't believe we haven't had a Superman game before. That's sad.
Yeah, I think the issue that people are having is that because I think it lends itself to also why the movies aren't quite as like we haven't seen a Man of Steel 2 basically. The whole thing is that Superman
I think Man
is
of Steel is amazing though.
so invincible that it's hard, especially in a game, right? Like your enemies, like why wouldn't Superman be able to beat up X, Y, and
So
Z?
you got a
know what
very
I mean?
good point. Yeah, like it has to be like something big, like Darkseid or something showing up. But you know, you can't be like beating up muggers on the side of the street as Superman. It's just like it makes sense.
Or
As
you
the friendly
can, and
neighborhood
then
Spider-Man.
how can you
Yeah.
explain your character dying?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it just doesn't make sense. I think it would make more sense if you were doing things that were a lot more like much bigger feats, like dealing with tsunami, like if you were like if there was a game where you were Superman but you had to deal with tsunamis or earthquakes or like you had to deal with like big things, they would have to put more of an emphasis on the death of other people because you're invincible. So the only way that they're going to get you with that like
Gotta make sure the
making the
hostage
game
is
high stakes is if it's like hostages or like imagine like an earthquake happens and you can only save a couple hundred people but a couple other hundred people are gonna die, like that would be heavy. Like a moral put Superman in like a moralistic problem. Anyways, that looked fantastic though. Like that does truly look fantastic. I do have two bits of news here. I'll start with the smallest news, which is that there is a Warcraft Arclight. They announced Warcraft Arclight Rumble, which is they're taking the classic RTS and they're putting it into a mobile puzzle game, which I hate. When I heard the rumors about this, I was somewhat optimistic because I was like, I would like if they can make like a very simplistic RTS like game, kind of like not Clash of Clans, but Clash Royale, which is their like more strategic game. Like Clash Royale on your mobile device is actually pretty fun and strategic. It is unfortunately not like pay to win. You could get lucky with your free like spins, but for the most part, it's one of those games where you will be better at it the more money you have, unfortunately. But if you had to take all that out of it, it's a pretty like good strategic game. So I thought it was going to be like that, but instead it's like what? I think it's like a puzzle type game. I got to look through it again because it looks like Clash Royale. Like it does have like that slight feeling to it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why they're calling it a puzzle game. It's got nothing to do with puzzles. It is still an RTS essentially, or like a more.
Did you ever meet Andrew Guy?
No.
Okay, so he was in, and he still is doing stuff for Schmodown and stuff, and he's like in when we were at Collider before Circle or whatever. I'm actually working on a short film with him in it. He's one of the hosts for Clash Royale, like one of the commentators.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say because Clash Royale has like a league and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this seems very reminiscent of Clash Royale, this Warcraft Arclight Rumble game, and people like I don't know. It seems like it'll be fun to play. It looks like a mobile game. Doesn't look anything like Warcraft, but I think it'll still be kind of fun to play. Hopefully it's not shitty. And then I think the biggest piece of news I have here is something that I never heard of. I don't know if this was announced before, if we missed it, but Neil Blomkamp, the guy who made District 9 and Chappie and Elysium. And he runs Oat Studios, does really amazing sci-fi movies and sci-fi shorts. He's working on a Battle Royale game. 150 players on a map. The map is constantly evolving, and it seems to be like... There's a trailer as well. I haven't seen this. But yeah, it seems to be like cyberpunk themed. I'm going to do it. Oh, it's only a 30-second trailer. Let's take a look through this. Oh, of course it's a super high-end CGI cutscene that's got nothing to do with the game. Of course that's what it is. God damn it. Yeah. I do like it, though. Like, it is slightly cyberpunk-ish. I'm not gonna lie. Even like with like the music, they were like, yeah, look, listen, we got cyberpunk music for a cyberpunk game. Um, yeah, it seems interesting. The game, it's third person. Okay, so it's a third person shooter that already sets it apart. The only other like good third person battle royale is Fortnite. Um, yeah, Apex is first person. Warzone is first person. That's yeah, third person, 150 players. That is pretty big. That's optimistic. You see that the issue with 150 players battle royale, and this is the same issue Hyperscape had. If you don't have the player base, it is very difficult to fill up a lobby of 150 people. You know what I mean? It got to the point where like I lost my play to Hyperscape. I was in a lobby of like it was supposed to be I think like 100 people, but the lobby was like 30 people, and we started with half the map just not even activated because the map would be too big for like 30 people. And yeah, so I do think that 150 people is optimistic, and it does get an issue like that. Even 100 people is a lot, but that 100 people is like a sweet spot that you can still kind of hit. You know what I mean? The more players you have, the more difficult it is to fill a lobby, especially if you're not a big game. It's not a big IP; it's a new IP. You know what I mean? Um, Apparently, there's a story unfolding, but I think that that's optimistic of them to say so. I might be unless they mean a story in the terms of the way that Fortnite tells a story slowly over this course of the season by making changes in the map. You got to figure it out. There's gonna be crafting, in-game crafting. It seems a little optimistic, but it could be amazing. Yeah. Our ambition is to create the Battle Royale 2.0. That doesn't sound promising. That just sounds like they're pitching way too hard here. Uh, but I'm curious as to what they mean by the map will be constantly changing. Is it because of like the map will be constantly evolving, like, and then I'm guessing they mean
a rogue,
in-game.
like a rogue, like
Yeah. Or at least like, but like, is it going to be weather based, or is it going to be like, hey, no, like you're on a planet that's alive and moving and changing or something? Maybe
I think
something cool
something
like
like
that.
that. I think something
That
like
would be
that.
sick, yeah.
So
'Cause
then,
it's in the cyberpunk theme, you know what I mean? Unless it's like maybe like maybe it's like super cybernetic and it's more like you're on like a cybernetic planet that's moving. But yeah, it seems like there's an emphasis on the map itself evolving, they say, or during gameplay, you know?
that's
So I'm
kind of
curious
cool.
as to yeah, I'm curious as to like what that's gonna be like. Gunzilla Games, I think, is the people. I've never heard of them though. Yeah, Gunzilla Games, next gen battle royale, narrative progression, which is that's interesting. They said that it's a strong focus on narrative progression for a battle royale. It's very interesting. You know what I mean? That there's actually any kind of narrative at all. And the stories is being worked on by Richard K. Morgan, who's the lead writer for Crisis 2, and he's the author of Altered Carbon, which was
Oh yeah, that
a
was a
really
Netflix
really good
series.
sci-fi. Yeah, clearly this like the writer is accredited, very well accredited, and he knows what he's doing. So he's writing the script. Blomkamp is serving as chief visionary officer, so I guess like that makes sense as well. Um, yeah, deep player progression, build an evolving world designed to take on a life of its own, changing in unexpected ways each time a player rejoins the game. Okay, so maybe the map doesn't change while you're on it, but maybe the map is different every time you hop into. Maybe that's what they're doing. It's like a procedurally generated map every time you play. Like it doesn't change while you're playing, but every time you play, which means it forces you to learn. Like you can't camp certain spots. You can't. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It forces you to learn how to play differently every time. That would be quite cool if it
yeah.
was like a procedurally generated. That would be actually. I would enjoy that. But it seems like there's a good team behind it. You know, it is quite optimistic. I think, especially in an oversaturated genre. Um, we saw how Hyperscape bombed, and Hyperscape was actually, honest to God, a great battle royale game. It was more like along the lines of Unreal Tournament, Quake, like that kind of style where you're like almost Doom, where you're like it's run and gun. You know what I mean? It's literally all about running and gunning and like traversal, and it was a great game. But it was genre fatigue. That the game bombed because of genre fatigue. There was nothing wrong with the game. The battle pass was a little bit dry, but the reason why that game never sold, like it didn't do well, is because of genre fatigue. You know, it was a free to play game. People loved it, and then it fell off. Literally nothing wrong with the game. I
Yeah,
enjoyed the crap out of it.
market saturation, man. I mean, that's the
Hmm.
thing is if everyone's doing one thing and you're just one that doesn't stand out, you can still be good. I always
Yeah.
say this. Do you remember? I don't. I'm older than you, but do you remember when the iPod not the iPad, not the iPhone.
Yeah.
There was just the iPod, right?
Mm-hmm.
The iPod was hugely popular. It was, for people who
yeah.
don't know, all it did is hold music. That's it. You played your music from there and whatever. Anyways.
Oh no, Dennis. It had an incredibly satisfying little wheel that you could use.
Yes.
I'm not like the interface was very satisfying, and it
So-
felt very good.
So that was the standard for MP3
Or are you
players.
about to talk about? Are you about to talk about Zune?
Yes. So
Yeah.
I went to an
Nothing
event.
wrong with that company. Yeah.
I went to a Zune event when they launched, and Zune was basically Microsoft's version of the iPod, and I got
more affordable though.
I got to play around with it and whatever, and I looked at it and I was like, you know what, this is a very solid product. It does pretty much everything the iPod does, and maybe even a little more, because I think it had at that time like Wi-Fi capabilities or something like that. There was something extra that it could do.
First one that came out with it had a better screen as well at the time, I believe.
Something like
It
that.
was more, and it was also more compact. Like the iPod Nano or Mini
Yes.
hadn't come out yet. Like a smaller version of the iPod hadn't come out yet, and they
No.
were doing like Zune was much smaller and compact, and it
So-
held music. And once again, it's one of those things where like your audio quality depends on your earphones. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a device that digitally stored music. There's nothing wrong with it, but like you said, market saturation, man.
Yeah,
Bad timing.
You come out and I left that event thinking this is actually a very good solid product. And normally if it had come out earlier and there wasn't the iPod and there wasn't all this other stuff, it would do fine. But I was like, it's because it doesn't have something that differentiates itself from the iPod, people are not going to buy it. And that's what happened. It was like,
And it was also like the top dog. It's like, think about it. Everyone wants AirPods. There are amazing alternatives that are cheaper and that are just as good.
Yeah.
But everybody wants AirPods,
Yeah.
Even me, like, I'm not going to lie. I want AirPods because their marketing was so good, it is what it is.
So-
And it's the same thing with genre. Even Fortnite was feeling genre fatigue. They had to release a no build mode to get like older people to get back into the game. You know what I mean?
yeah. So it's
So
when
yeah,
you're
only
not
time will tell, like,
first, you're not top
Yeah.
dog. It's very hard to get into a saturated
yeah.
market.
could be an incredible game, but it could be genre fatigue. Like, I think that's the reason why Valorant's been doing so well, is because when Valorant came out, like, Counter-Strike, nobody tried to, like, I'm sure there were attempts at people trying to make a Counter-Strike style game, a 5v5 tactical shooter that's like Counter-Strike, but for the most part, for the past, like, 20 years, there was no other game besides Counter-Strike, I can't believe it took that long for a studio to go, hey, we can make that game, but slightly more colorful and market it better, Which is why I think Valorant does so well, because it has only one other contender, Whereas with your Battle Royale, you have like 20 contenders. There's so many Battle Royale games.
One last thing. So apparently Elden Ring is on sale for only PlayStation though. So if you have a PS4 or PS5
nice.
on Amazon for $50. It's not like a huge, it was originally $60. You can buy it for $50. It was, cool. It's a game that's been out a few months, and just I paid the full 60 for
any
the PC.
any discount is a good discount, considering it is one of the most played games. Like right now, it's still one of the most played games,
Yeah.
and most talked about games. So it makes sense. They're not going to give you a big sale, but still, $10 off it's nice. It's welcoming,
Yeah, and for a game that's that good, it's totally worth it. It was worth my $60, so I cannot complain, and I'm not going to complain that it's cheaper now.
No,
hell
no.
It was worth
got
the
my
extra
money.
$10. Yeah.
I was gonna say the game. In my opinion, the game is worth more because of how much they crammed into this game. It's easily worth more than $60, and I would never say that about a game. But this is one of those games where there's so much. There's just so much in it. It's incredible.
I'm at 150 hours. How many hours are you in?
Oh, I think I'm on. I want to say more than 200. That's because of how many different characters I've started.
Okay, but in one particular your character that has the
playthrough?
most. Yeah.
My current playthrough, I think, is about to hit 80 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm about to hit 80 hours on my like my main playthrough, like mage character, which I'm getting a bit bored of playing a mage, but I've decided rather than changing it up last minute, I'll play New Game Plus mode, try out some Faith builds again. The Faith builds look fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna do either a Faith Intelligence or Faith Arcane on New Game Plus.
If you didn't mess around with intelligence at all, I had like there's some really fun like spells and stuff. I really highly recommend checking it out, man.
Yeah, I'll probably try it and then see with Arcane later. But yeah, I'm almost done. I have the last boss left, and I also have one side.
I'm on the last two bosses. Yeah.
I have one side boss that I need to kill just for completionist in me.
I have so many side bosses I haven't done, but I figured I'll just get them on New Game Plus. I'll get them. There's like a couple dragons I missed and stuff like that. But yeah,
killed them all. But anyways, Elden Ring, yeah, fantastic game. I can't see even with Starfield and God of War Ragnarok coming out later this year. I just can't see either one toppling this game for my game of the year. So, though I'm looking forward to both of them. Is there anything else?
Yeah. Well, I'll mention it now. Hopefully next week I can give people a link or soon at some point. But I was filming a movie right before I left LA. I was filming this sci-fi indie movie.
Cool.
We wrapped about literally like we wrapped. Well, they wrapped. I wrapped just before the pandemic. They wrapped during the pandemic, which must have been stressful. And it took them about 2 years to edit this. I never thought it was ever going to come out. But the trailer dropped yesterday, and it doesn't look that bad.
Why don't you send me the link, and I will put it in the description.
Yeah.
So people can check it out.
I was going to say, it's not out yet. The trailer just dropped. But hopefully next week, in the next video, there should be a link in the description. And I think you might be able to rent it on Amazon or one of those online services.
But the trailer's out though, right?
Yeah, I can't find it though. Like it was emailed. The trailer was emailed to me by the director and producer. I don't know if it's like people have been posting on social media, but I haven't seen it. Like it's not even on IMDb yet. Like I'm just waiting for my credits because I've been looking at new agencies and I talked to them and I was like, yeah, no, I filmed this independent sci-fi movie, and they're like, we don't see the credit. You're lying to us. I'm like, God damn it. Anyways, so hopefully I can get the credit for that soon. I already got paid, so it's not like I'm going to be making money from this. I got paid a day rate. But I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited for people to check it out.
Yeah.
I play a supporting character, like kind of like comedic relief or like because it's a sci-fi thriller, and I play like I wouldn't say comedic relief, but I'm the tension reliever in most of the parts. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
I'm looking forward to it though, yeah.
So yeah, we'll post the link to the trailer either this week or next week so people can check it out. Cool. All right, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitch at It's Thespis, all lowercase, one word. You guys can find me on the Revog Discord channel. If you guys ever want to talk about video games, I'm there all the time to talk and play some games. And yeah, recently I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV. I had a random craving for an MMO, and I dived deep into that. I only paid for 1 month because that's where they get you. I'm not going to sign up for like months and months. I paid for 1 month, and I'm going to finish as much of that MMO as I can in that month. So I've been playing a lot of that, a lot of Valorant. And yeah, almost done with Elden Ring. Cool. I'm literally just the last two bosses because I know that they're right next to each other. So that's
we're gonna do our spoiler Elden Ring review soon.
We're
both we're almost done
soon. Yeah.
So yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, Instagram Dennis.tzng. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Revog. Also, we have our weekly podcast on podcast format on Spotify, Anchor.fm. So until next week, we'll see you guys later.
Later.